Amazon Prime has finally got Stargate back on our screens, in America at least. So I thought I would take this opportunity to give you the definitive timeline of the new series of development and how we got from there to here. Welcome to SciTrek, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. So I've been talking about a new series of Stargate for, wow, a year, and it's still not on our screens. I have been able to give you lots of little scoops and a behind-the-scenes view of what is going on in the offices of MGM and Amazon. So now it finally looks like Amazon is taking Stargate seriously. It's put SG-1 and Atlantis back on our screens, at very least in the United States, and I'm told in Europe and the UK very shortly, that I would take this opportunity to give you the definitive timeline of how the new series is being developed and where we are right now. So I have to actually go back quite far, back to 2015 for the start of this story, because that is when MGM first considered doing a hard reboot, kind of the Stargate franchise. They were going to do a sequel to their 10th highest grossing movie of all time, the original Stargate with James Spader and Kurt Russell. Now, Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin had both signed on to direct, produce, write this story. James Spader and Kurt Russell had agreed to appear. It was completely greenlit and going to happen, but then for some reason, I've never been able to quite find out why, it got scrapped. Now then, we didn't really hear anything official about Stargate and any new potential series until the end of 2019, when Brad Wright officially announced that he was writing a script, a pilot script for a new Stargate series. Now, I am told that there was also an animated series in the works. Now, we've not really heard a great deal about this since, but apparently the idea was, at the time, that MGM did own an animation studio, and they thought this would be a really good project, something to follow closely on the heels of the new Brad Wright Stargate series that would, work together with that. This news was dropped by Giant Freaking Robot something like a year after that, and that story became popular. It was widely dismissed as being nonsense, but I am told at the end of 2019 that was the plan. Around this time, late 2019 into early 2020, there were several rewrites of the script. Now, Brad Wright has talked about this himself, how there was a normal development process. He would basically send his work back into MGM. They would do little notes on it and send it back, and he would work on it until he figured out a script that worked for everybody. Now, I am actually told that Amazon were already involved in this project even then, that they were planning to be the customer, that basically MGM would put Stargate on Amazon Prime. Now, that makes complete sense because Amazon Prime and MGM already had a reasonably close working relationship at that point. Amazon does have an MGM channel on it. So even then, Amazon Prime were feeding back through MGM to Brad and trying to get him to go in a certain direction. At this point, COVID really hit us in the backside, and the entire planet basically stopped for 12 months. And so did development of Stargate franchise. Nothing then happened for about 12 months. Oh, by the way, if you do like the content, please consider hitting the join button and becoming a fully fledged SciTrekker. You can also go to sci-trek.com and pick marvelous merchandise. All of these little things really help the channel. Also, if you're new to the channel, like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and share the video wherever the hell you want. But then in March 2021, something very interesting did happen. Steve Wright became the new executive producer in charge of scripted material at MGM. He then immediately scrapped the idea of an animated series to go along with Brad Wright's. He said, "We don't have the resources to do that, and we wouldn't do a very good job. The MGM animation studio is crap." It was actually scrapped not long after. I am also told that this was around the first time that real serious doubts about Brad Wright's script began to surface. It was around this time that Amazon did more loudly start voicing its concerns about what it was seeing, and even some people at MGM started to doubt that this project of Brad's would have any real weight moving forwards. Was it just a coincidence that Steve Wright took his position as the head and president of MGM at the same time? Or was it actually Steve Wright that was voicing these concerns most loudly? In May 2021, Amazon bought MGM for $8.5 billion. Now, they were not the only people interested, and actually, in the run up before this, Apple were the most interested in buying MGM. At this time, MGM was being told by Amazon that they were going to be allowed to have free reign moving forwards, that they should start working on some new projects, and that Amazon planned to give them full creative control, and that Amazon would only really act as a customer, that they wouldn't just come in and slash everybody's jobs and take over. MGM was really convinced that they were going to have full creative control. So it was around this time that MGM started working on a second script for a new Stargate show. Now, we've never really been able to quite figure out where this script came from, but talking to lots of different people, I suspect, and this is only my opinion, but I suspect this was actually a Dean Devlin script that was written back in 2017. Now, I don't think the intention was ever to actually make this script happen. I think it was a idea that they would sort of contrast and compare the two scripts and the two different visions for how Stargate could move forwards. It was something that they would then show to Amazon later on, and that they would get a bit of an idea of hopefully what everybody wanted to do moving forwards. But they did continue to develop both scripts, doing initial artworks, lots of initial storyboarding. They really started to put meat on the bones of the existing scripts and really started to get an idea of what the vision for both would be. So in March 2022, everything changed. The sale of MGM to Amazon was finalized, and Amazon, to be fair, dropped the hammer. Michael DeLuca and Pamela Abdi resigned in April of 2022. Resigned or were pushed is the big question, but they've never really spoken about why they resigned. That is because they were almost certainly contracted not to, and they would have almost certainly had to sign some sort of contract when they got their enormous payouts when they left. What I am told is, though, that they left because it became very evident to MGM that everything they'd been told in the run up to this point was a complete lie. That they were not going to be given creative control, that they were not going to be allowed to continue to operate as MGM, and that actually Amazon were coming in and they were taking over everything. And that even Amazon executives at this point said that MGM would be absorbed into Amazon Pictures. They started using excuses like COVID to explain why these changes were happening and why they were forced to take over MGM rather than just allow it to carry on operating as one of the biggest studios in history. And then Amazon put all of MGM's projects into a kind of stalling process. Anything that wasn't in pre-production was just frozen. They all went into review, and small teams throughout Amazon Studios began reviewing everything they were looking at. Amazon were not at all impressed with what they found. Now, even though MGM was being operated reasonably well as a business, it actually had been profitable for a few years. Creatively, Amazon were just furious by what they found when they started looking into it. They found ridiculous projects in development, lots of infighting apparently between directors and producers, etc., and just a complete mess. Stargate was always intended to be one of the big announcements they wanted to pull off straight away. There was always going to be three big things that Amazon wanted to do as soon as they took over MGM. Bond, and that's been completely screwed up. Stargate, and something from the intellectual properties, some big new reboot or remake. None of those things have happened simply because of what I'm telling you, that MGM was in such a bad way and Amazon had such a big job of absorbing it into Amazon Prime that they just simply couldn't allow them to continue with any of the projects they had planned. We actually did come this close to Brad Wright's script getting greenlit. MGM was planning to do it the second the sale went through. The second Amazon gave them the final go ahead, MGM were going to push forward. I kept hearing rumors that Brad Wright's script was not dead and buried and that it was still possible, however, becoming more and more unlikely that it could still get made. And again, I came on my channel and told you that Brad Wright's project was not going to happen. This was only then really confirmed by Brad Wright on July 27th in a live video stream, where he actually said again that he never thought his script was ever going to see the light of day. So the voices that started a year and a half ago doubting Brad Wright's project did just get louder and louder. But that is not the end of the story for Stargate, because they are trying to figure something out with this. They are trying to develop a new series, but they don't just want to create a series. They want to create a franchise, because all of the studios want everything to become a franchise nowadays. That's just the way shit works nowadays. So, as I told you a few weeks ago, Mark Fergus and Hawk Ostby, the guys that created The Expanse for Amazon, have been approached to develop something for Stargate. They're not necessarily being asked to write a script, from what I'm being told. Instead, they're being asked to develop an outline of what the new series would look like and how it could form the part of a franchise for a new series of series. Now, from what I'm being told, they're not actually being asked to write a script or a pilot for Stargate. Instead, they're being asked to develop something, a universe that fits with canon for what we've already seen of Stargate SG-1, SG-U, and SG-A, but something that makes sense in a larger picture. So what they're really being asked to do is create sort of like a Stargate Bible. This is something they used to do for Star Trek all the time. Star Trek The Next Generation famously had a Bible that Gene Roddenberry put together. It was something that they dipped in and out of throughout the 7 seasons. That is what Hawk and Mark are being asked to produce now. Now, that might lead into them writing a pilot, but at the moment, instead, they're just trying to really figure out how the hell they move forward with Stargate. Now, on that point, me and Matt this week are going to be doing a couple of videos on how Stargate could come back, whether it be a hard reboot or a continuation of the story. What are fans going to be really excited about? And what are the challenges that maybe might turn fans off? So, look forward to those Tuesday and Thursday this week on Sidetrack. So, don't forget, guys, that if you enjoy the content, please consider hitting the join button and becoming a fully fledged side trekker. Also, if you are new to the channel, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. It really helps us out. And as always, guys, please stay safe, and I'll see you next time.